Blood baths. Nolan Silver. Are you okay, father? I ask my father, walking up to him, seeing him squinting his eyes before blinking a few times. Yes, I'm fine, he says, getting up and embracing me in a hug. You just looked like, I ask, knowing full well who I looked like. I looked like Aries. My father saw Aries when I walked in. He can't distinguish between how he feels about us now that I carry Aries's blood with me in the ring, and I'm here to push the power of the blood to its last limit. Wearing it in the ring is not the only way to use it, it's just a better way. It makes him and everyone think he's doing all that he is out of his own free will. Well, at least that's how Cora explained it to me. She doesn't want me to use the blood the way that I have just now, but I feel like I have no choice. She gave me a fortnight to announce our engagement, and that was a few months ago. I begged her for more time, and eventually, after a lot of begging, she gave in, but she won't give me any more, and this is the last week. I don't plan on staying married to Cora, but I don't want to rock the boat, not before I sit on the throne. After that, I have big plans for her, so I decided to try this method even though she cautioned me against it. I've put a drop of the blood in my bathing water and soaked in it. I came out shriveled like a prune, but it'll be worth it when I get what I want. I'm also going to push the subject of my official crowning. I'm not waiting a year. I don't care what the tradition is after I get married. I want to be crowned the following day. I've sacrificed too much for this. I can't wait anymore. Never mind, son, what can I do for you? He says, pain flashing in his eyes, causing my heart to clench. Despite everything I'm doing, I care about him. I love him. I need to talk to you about something, I tell him, and he invites me to sit down, and I do. Father, I know you think Alexandra is a good choice for me, but I would like to choose my own bride. I want to take Cora, I tell him, looking him in the eye to see his face morph into an expression I can't decipher before his eyes glaze over. My heartbeat rises, a part of me doubting if this was a good idea. What if I didn't put enough blood in the water and it doesn't work? After all, Cora wasn't there to guide me, and I could have done something wrong. You do? He asks after a moment, his eyes clearing, and I nod. Yes, father, I'm in love with her, and I know she'll make a fine queen, I tell him, my voice sounding nothing like I feel inside. If that's what you want. Yes, he says, and my eyes widen at his words, at how easy that was. I should have bathed in that blood a long time ago. Thank you, father. Now, about my crowing, I would like it to happen 6 months from now. I want the remodeling of the throne room to start as soon as possible, I tell him, and he nods, agreeing to everything I'm saying like he's hypnotized. I suppose he is in a way. Whenever a new king takes the throne, the crown room gets remodeled at the pleasure of the new king. A monument is also built and unveiled at the crowning. Satisfied, I thank him and head back to my room so I can let Cora know. I organize a bottle of champagne, feeling like celebrating suddenly, and call her to join me. Things are coming together. She comes in and her brows knit together, looking at the champagne glasses in my hand. What's going on? What's the occasion? We're getting married and crowned in 6 months, I tell her, handing her glass over to her before clinking it with mine, and she gapes, surprised, before narrowing her eyes suspiciously at me. I'm so happy right now, even she can't ruin this moment. Anselm agreed that you take me? Yes. How, Nolan? Who did you say I was? I said you were you, and he agreed, I tell her, shrugging my shoulders, but the frown on her face deepens as she looks at me silently for a moment. You bathed in the blood, didn't you? Yes. Nolan, I cautioned you against it. I know, but I was desperate. Cora, plus nothing happened, so relax. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal, huh? I wonder if you're going to be singing the same tune after he sleeps the spell off and knows nothing about consenting to any of this. What? What do you mean? I mean, he's not going to remember agreeing to this. He's not even going to remember ever having the conversation. Why? Why would he not remember? Because that's how the bloodbath works. A person will give you anything you want while under the spell, but won't remember a thing about it the following day, which is why I told you never to use it. How do you think it's going to look when he keeps making decisions he doesn't remember? Especially decisions as big as this. How long do you think it will take him to figure out that something's wrong? Fuck. Yes, fuck. And it'll be your mess to clean. I'm leaving for the airport in a few hours. What? What do you mean leaving? Where are you going? To Oldham. Oldham, as in Abria? Yes. Why? For what? I need something. Something like what, Cora? I finally got father to agree, and now you're leaving? This is not the time. I want to call the jewelers and get you a ring. Announce our engagement so I can announce our wedding. It'll have to wait until I get back. Cora, I don't understand. You're the one who's been pushing for this, and now that it's happening, you don't seem very happy about it. You don't even seem like you care. Of course, I care. The sooner we can get married, the sooner my sisters can be free, but I'm not in the right state of mind to complete our plan right now. At least not until I can sort out these nightmares first. They are really messing up with my head, and I need to deal with them so I can focus on our plans without any distractions. Look, I've been consulting for the past few days, and I keep getting the same answer every time. I've been getting signs that show me Aries is in trouble, that he's suffering, but at the same time, tell me he's dead. And going to Abria will solve this? I keep seeing Astrid as well in the same circle as Aries, which means the Aries in my dream is not Aries, but Astrid. So I did a seeker spell like I have been doing ever since she left, and it worked. Now that she's dead and not concealing herself, I traced her back to Oldham. So I'm going there to find out what happened to her. So you think she's upset 'cause you don't know what happened to her? Yes. I need to find whoever killed her and deal with them. I'm also going to need your help. I have to dig up her remains and bring them back so we can properly bury her. After we have done that, the power that we lost will be restored since the circle will be closed again, she says, and I sigh, rubbing my hands over my face, feeling tired suddenly. Okay, I'm not going to pretend like I understand any of what you've told me, but I do understand that you're not well and I need you to be at your best. So fine, do whatever you need to do and come back so we can finally finish this. Vance. Thank you. I tell one of my waiters after placing a cup of coffee in front of me. I am tired. I only got home this morning, but there's no time to rest after leaving Nova. I had to attend a business conference that I couldn't miss, and now I'm waiting for my head guy so I can let him know what's going to happen next and what they need to do. Nova's father fell into my trap. I told him their daughter is here in Abria, and I also told them she worked for me, but didn't say anything about the vampire. Since I'm not planning to capture him for them, I've got my own plans for that vampire. I lied and said it was before I found out she had been kidnapped and that I feel bad for not rescuing her. So I came to offer my services to them. I promised to find her and bring her home, but needed them to okay it first. I'm the first lead they've gotten in months. So needless to say, they accepted but told me to work with their men. I agreed. But there's no way in hell I'm doing that. I'm going to kill all his men, every last one of them, and then my men and I are going to take over the search. We are going to find Nova, and I'm going to kill that vampire and take her back to Nova, but I won't be taking her home for them. I'm going to be doing it for myself once my men and I become trusted guests in the palace. We are going to attack and hold the king and queen hostage. I'm going to force their daughter to marry me, and once she does, I'm going to take over and then kill them. The Nova Kingdom is small with not much to offer. I'm not interested in it, but solely using it as a stepping stone to rekindle my true intention. It won't be hard for me to build alliances once I have the title, and I have already figured out a way to one by one. I'm going to turn them all against my uncle, and then, when he's weakened and isolated, I'm going to make my move. When that's done, I'm going to kill the bitch after making sure she gives me an heir first. Thank you, I hear someone say on my left, snapping me out of my thoughts. and I look to find one of the waiters handing a menu to a woman I've never seen before. And I can just tell she's not from here. She looks at me and gives me a soft smile after catching me looking at her. And there's something familiar about her even though I'm sure I've never seen her before. Clyde doesn't feel her wolf, so she must be human or a vampire. Since it seems they can now walk among us without being detected, I return the smile and something tells me I'm going to fuck her tonight. I haven't had a good release since this whole thing happened and I needed. I get up and walk up to her. Hi, I'm Vance. I'm the owner of this place. I introduce myself, extending my hand, and she shakes it. Nice to meet you, Vance. I'm Cora. Apologies for not updating in the last 2 days, guys. I wasn't feeling well. Gut feeling. Cora. Nice to meet you too. Cora, may I? Or you're waiting for someone? The guy who just introduced himself as Vance asks if he can sit down and I nod. I'm not waiting for anyone, so go ahead, I tell him, and he thanks me and takes a seat. Is this your first time visiting here? Yes, it is. I'm from Ymir. I lie to him. Oh, wow, that's a beautiful place. I've been there a few times on business. Maybe I can look you up next time, he says. And I can already tell he came over to hit on me. He's an attractive man with his chocolate brown hair, sharp jawline, and mesmerizing brown eyes. And I can tell he works out too. By the way, his shirt is perfectly hugging his biceps. I sure as hell wouldn't mind peeking under it. And it's kind of nice to feel wanted. Nolan and I haven't been physical for a while now. He keeps making excuses, but I know he was put off by my age ever since I showed him what I really look like. He's been weird. I don't have feelings for him or anything, but we all have days when we wish we could be held and looked at with pure intentions. With love. Not that I think this guy's in love with me, though he strikes me as a no-strings-attached kind of guy. Unfortunately, there isn't much room for entertainment back in Ymir. I'm always busy. I lie. I can't have him thinking I'll meet with him. I'm going to be a queen in 6 months. That's why I lied to him about where I live in the first place. Oh, that's unfortunate. I would have loved for you to show me around, he says. And I give him a soft smile, but an idea pops into my mind. Maybe you can show me around here. In your city. I'm house hunting and I came across this beautiful estate. I think it's Lanceview or something like that. The house is beautiful and I start to say, but trail off, watching his eyes widen a bit. Did I say something wrong? No, you didn't, but the house you're mentioning, the one in Lance's View, it belongs to a friend of mine, and I don't think he's selling. Oh, I must have seen wrong then, 'cause I can almost swear I saw a for sale board in front and then I saw people working on it and thought maybe it's getting fixed to be sold or something. I lie, not even able to look him in the eye as I give him the weird explanation. There are people working in the house, but I know the house is not for sale. I consulted again after getting to my hotel last night, and that's where the seeker spell pointed. It pointed to that house, and now I'm trying to find a way in there. My sister is in there, and whoever lives in that house must know what happened. Don't worry. I can understand why it would catch your attention. The house is beautiful. It always catches my attention too when driving past. It really is, and it has inspired me to build myself something similar. Do you think he would mind giving me a tour inside? I don't know. I could speak to him and find out. That would be great. Thank you. I appreciate your help. You're welcome. In the meantime, though, I would love to show you around town. Who knows? You might just find another house that you like more. I doubt that, but wouldn't mind the tour. Maybe even grab a few drinks? I tell him, deciding to keep him close. He knows who lives in that house and will be my ticket inside. He has now become part of my plan. I need him. I'm not leaving this place without my sister's remains or finding out what happened to her. Astrid and I didn't get along, but she was still my sister, and as the oldest, it's my responsibility to find her and bring her home. She was the oldest of all the children that were left when our coven was attacked. She was 15 and innocent. She looked up to me and adored me as I did her. Her mother and my mother never got along. Olivia, her mother, wanted my mother's regent position, but never got it after the mess with the vampires. She tried to rally everyone against my mother, but it didn't work. so she resulted in poisoning my mother. But she was discovered she had committed a great crime and had to be punished. So she was sentenced to spending the remainder of her life without magic, but rather than lose her magic, she chose to leave her 5-year-old behind. She took the same poison she tried to give to my mother and was found dead the next morning. My mother took Astrid in and raised her as her own. She became my little sister, and we adored each other. The time came for me to leave for my mission, and I did. And when I returned after our coven was attacked, I found my mother in Astrid's arms, but things changed after we woke up from the long sleep. Astrid was a different person. She didn't refer to my mother as her mother anymore. She called her by her formal name. I tried to speak with her and find out what was wrong, but she kept pushing me away, and I thought maybe I needed to give her some space. That maybe whatever was happening with her would pass. I thought maybe it was the consequences of the spell we had been under for so long, but it didn't pass. Her behavior got worse. When we got to the city, she started going out and partying, even bringing different men into the house, and one night we had a big fight, and she finally snapped. She told me she hated me and my mother. She blamed us for her mother's death, and the death of our coven. Astrid was very young when her mother died. Therefore she was never told the truth about her mother's death. My mother was going to tell her once she turned 16, but I guess someone decided to go against what was decided by the coven and tell her. I tried to explain to her what happened and why she was never told, but she didn't want to hear of it. And when we woke up the next morning, she was gone. I went looking for her for 2 months. I was afraid for her. Afraid for all of us, afraid that someone was going to figure out what she was, but when I found her, she hadn't exposed herself. She came home and we tried to make up, but failed, and after that, she ran away 3 more times. We were weakened every time she ran away and had to go find her and bring her back. We can all do magic, but each of us have our own special powers. For example, none of them can lift my cloaking spells and can never read someone once I conceal them now. After we woke up from the spell, our powers were shared amongst each other. We were linked, all able to use each other's powers, but we had to remain close to each other. Everyone could cloak, and I could do anything they could do too, like read people and erase someone's memory, like Astrid. Which is why I couldn't let her run away until I was done with Aries. She was going to take her powers with her, and I needed them for what I needed to do, so I stripped her of the ring that kept her looking young. I hated doing it. It broke my heart, but I was going to give it back to her once I'm done. I just needed her to stay put until Nolan and I were done, but she still ran away without the ring. I got a phone call in the middle of the night telling me she had run away. My sisters tracked her to the nearest town, but were mortified by what they found. When they got there, they found corpses with missing hearts, and we all knew what that meant. She had resorted to the ancient ritual of consuming hearts to remain young by the time we were born. That was already forbidden. The practice of delaying growth was itself only granted in extreme circumstances. Like when we were attacked by the vampires, the hearts gave her her strength back and she was able to hide from us again. Of all the times she had run away, she never once exposed our secret, and we had started not to worry about her doing it anymore. But now we were back to worrying. I had taken her ring and sentenced her to death. I broke her heart. I went too far. I understood that, but I had no other choice. My plan with Nolan was in motion, and I needed all my strength. I needed to be strong so it could be done. Not just for me, but for all of us. My sisters continued searching, but they were never able to find her. She could feel us and block our spells, but now that she's dead, she can't block us anymore. Her death opened our circle when her power cut off, but it can be closed again. I just need to find her remains, bring them home, and do a proper burial for her. When that's done, the circle will come full again, and we'll be able to access her magic and be as strong as we were once again. Vance. Cora suggests that she would like to get drinks, and I agree. But something's bugging me about her interest in my house. The Lanceview estate she's talking about is the house I was staying at with Astrid, the one Clyde tore apart and is now being fixed. She could be telling the truth and is maybe just fascinated by the house and thought she saw a sign. But if there's anything that life has taught me over the years, it's to trust my gut, and right now, it's telling me there's more to it than she's letting on now. I'm wondering if this whole thing is a test, if she came here knowing I was the owner of the house. I'm wondering who she is, and I intend to find out. I was in Nova a few weeks back, And she could be one of Kane's spies. Maybe he's trying to find out who I am. I suggested showing her around cause I want to keep her close. Her breakfast comes and I also join her and have mine since I haven't had breakfast yet either. There's something familiar about her too. Even though I'm sure I'm seeing her for the first time, she's beautiful and it would be a shame for her to have to die. June 6th. Nolan Silver. I groan, opening my eyes, being rudely awakened by my phone, and I glance at my bedside clock to see it's 12:01 a.m. What the hell? I mutter, reaching for it, but my breath catches in my throat as soon as I turn it around and look at the screen. It's a flashing picture of Aries. I abruptly sit up before quickly switching the reminder off and placing the phone aside. My heartbeat accelerating, I rub my hands over my face before leaning back on the headboard and looking up with my eyes closed, trying to clear the image from my mind, but it doesn't work. It refuses to go away, and I feel something stir in my stomach as I open them again, my hands taking on a life of their own as they reach for the phone. I slowly turn it around and awaken the screen to look at his blushing 7-year-old face again, and I let out a chuckle at how he hated the picture. I recall how I used to tease him with it, and I start hysterically laughing, but before I know it, tears start falling on his face as my hands start to tremble, the laughter getting replaced by groans of agony. Feeling a lump slowly rising in my throat as it moves to block my airway. Today's June 6th, and it's Aries' birthday. I always set a reminder to go burst into his room and wake him up, annoying the hell out of him cause he didn't fall asleep easily, so he always slept late, and would just have fallen asleep when I did that. I would force him up and we would walk to the bar and have shorts until he didn't want to sleep anymore. We would start with the celebrations. Before everyone woke up, I hold the phone to my chest by reflex, as sobs escape my lips, and, for the first time since I did what I did to him, I break down and cry, not being able to justify the wrong I did. The evil I did, everything I've been blocking out comes crashing in, tearing me apart, and I start screaming my lungs out like I'm losing my mind as grief hits me hard, rocking me to my core. I'm sorry, brother, I'm so sorry, Aries. Nova. I walk inside our bedroom and my face immediately turns into a frown, not finding Nolan inside, and I take out my phone and send him a text asking if he's still at work. He normally comes back after 2 p.m., but he sent me a text earlier saying he's working overtime, but I thought he'd be back by now. I also noticed that he hasn't responded to the text I sent him, telling him I was going to the mall with Lydia, in case he came back when I was out. It's been a month since we've been here and everything has been good. Jabari was on a week's leave when we got here, and he went to work the following Monday and spoke to his employer like he said he would, and got Nolan the job. He started the following day. They get paid weekly, and the pay is good too. It's 4 times what he got on the farm. The Abbotts have been amazing. They've been God-sent. Jabari has even organized new IDs for us, since Nolan needed one in order for him to complete his employment contract. He and his family's kindness has been overwhelming. They have taken a parent role towards us and have done nothing but make us feel loved and cared for. They gave us a family. After everything we've been through, meeting people like them and having it so easy feels like a dream I don't ever want to wake from. And I'm scared someone is going to wake me up to find myself cold on a street corner in the middle of the night. I can never put into words how grateful we are. Kian has also introduced Nolan to his friends. They even went to the club last weekend. Nolan didn't want to go cause it was just the guys, and he didn't want to leave me behind, but I told him it's okay. I didn't mind. I want him to go out and socialize so he can make friends. Plus Rebecca, Kian's girlfriend, and I have been hanging out too. We've also changed the color of our hair again, and I've had my deep curls straightened. However, we want to get an apartment and move out, so we can have some privacy. It's not easy for Nolan to have to act human all the time. It's also extremely difficult for him to feed, cause he can't bring the blood inside the house. They'd smell it, so he only feeds when on the night shift. Luckily, the hospital is right next to the firm he works at, so at night during his body break, he sneaks out to the hospital to get him some blood and makes sure he gets rid of all traces of it Before walking back, most of his colleagues are wolves. It's going to be a problem when he's done with his probation period, cause he was hired to work the day shift. He'll only work the night shift if they are short. How is he going to feed then? How long will he have to wait before he's asked to work at night? How will we keep everyone from noticing the changes he'll start showing when he needs to feed? That's even more reason for us to move, but we want to wait until he becomes permanent first, since he's still on probation. So we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. We've spoken to Jabari and Lydia about moving out, leaving out the vampire part obviously, and they said they understand. We are a young couple and need our space. Lydia's even helping me look for a place. Today, though, she surprised us. She took me and Rebecca to the spa and we got our hair done as well. It's very sweet and kind of her. But instead of feeling happy, it just made me sad, and I don't understand it. Being pampered reminded me of simpler times. Of everything I gave up. I miss having all that, but at the same time, if I can't have it with Nolan, then I'd rather not have it, cause without him, nothing can ever feel good or be worth anything. Which is why I don't understand the sadness, but then again, maybe I do understand it and I just don't want to acknowledge it, cause I'm scared it'll hurt more if I do. Today's the 6th of June and it's my birthday. My first birthday not only without my parents, but knowing that I broke their hearts, that I hurt them. My first birthday away from my home and the people I grew up with and love. What I did with Lydia is what my mother and I usually did together. It's how we started the day every time on my birthday. After that, I would go to one of the orphanages that I sponsored and have the first part of the celebration there with the kids. They celebrated their birthdays with me, so I celebrated mine with them too. From there, I would go home for the last part of the celebration. My frown deepens, noticing something on the bed, and I proceed to it. It's 2 shopping bags. I open one and peek inside to find what seems to be a dress. Just then, my phone rings, and it's Nolan, causing my face to immediately stretch into a smile. Hey, I answer, the smile widening at the sound of his voice, and he tells me he's still at work, but needs me to put on the dress and meet him at a hotel, cause his boss is doing a staff dinner after work to introduce them to members of other branches, but he forgot to let me know this morning, cause they were only told yesterday morning. My smile immediately falters at that, and I'm glad he can't see me, cause he'd be worried. I really don't feel like being with a bunch of strangers right now, not when I'm already feeling like this. This is the worst time for me. I'd rather just sleep, but I try my best not to sound like it. I don't want him to pick up that something is wrong, cause he'll tell me not to come and we'll end up not going too. And I want him to go and meet his colleagues, so I'm going to have to put my needs aside and be there for him. I sigh after a moment of silence while composing myself and tell him okay. I ask him what he's going to wear, and he tells me Kian took clothes for him when we were out and is going to be taking me to the hotel where the dinner's going to be held too. Kian's off today. He apologizes for forgetting and letting me know at such short notice after thanking me for agreeing to go, and we end the call after that. I place the phone down but start feeling emotional suddenly, and before I know it, tears slide down my face. I plop down on the bed before pulling my knees to my chest and I bury my face in them, letting it all out. Maybe if I just give in and cry once and for all, I'll feel better and I won't embarrass Nolan after I don't know how long. I calm down and I do feel a bit better. The lump in my throat has gone down. I reach out and grab the other bag to see what's inside, and it's a pair of silver heels. They are beautiful. I decide to take out the dress as well, since he called before I could get a good look at it, and a gasp escapes my lips at how beautiful it is. It looks expensive too, but there's no tag on it. It's the same with the shoes. They also look expensive, but have no tag on them. It's a gold deep V-neck long sleeve backless dress. Did Nolan buy these? Whose are they? I mutter, placing the dress back down again, and head to the bathroom to wash my face. I apply a bit of makeup after that, motivated by the dress. It's been a while since I've been in a beautiful dress, like the dresses I owned. I sigh, pausing for a moment, looking at myself in the mirror before picking up a brush and applying a bit of blush. Thinking of Anna as I do, she'd be going on and on about the dress if she were here right now. My lips stretch into a sad smile at that. You're not going back there again. You're not going to make yourself cry again. I repeat, staring myself in the eye before continuing with what I was doing. Luckily, my hair's done, so I don't have to do anything with it. Thanks to Carla, I don't have to worry about my eyes being red from all the crying I just did. Just then, there's a knock on the door and Kian calls out to me, asking if I'm ready to go, but I ask him for 20 minutes. Since I'm not dressed yet, I head out of the bathroom and take off my jeans and bra. Cause I'm in my bra now. I took off my top before washing my face. I pick up the dress, but stop halfway putting it on, deciding to change my lingerie and put on something a bit sexier. For some reason, I head to the closet to pick something. Blushing the whole time like an idiot, I put it on and put the dress on after I walk to the mirror before putting on the shoes. Not being able to wait to see myself, and I gape at how beautiful I look. The dress has a knot at the back, but after pulling it up a little, I'm able to tie it myself. The mirror is a full view mirror, so I'm able to see myself nicely. I turn to the side a bit, running my hands over the fabric, and I must admit, the dress has lifted my spirits a bit. It's perfectly hugging my body, accentuating my curves, and stops just above my knees. So it's a perfect length too. It's safe to say I'm in love with this dress and wish I could keep it, but I know I can't. Nolan probably hired it or something. Costs. It's not something we can afford. I can definitely tell now that I'm wearing it after a long moment of gawking at myself in the mirror. I remember that I asked Kian for 20 minutes and head back to the bedroom to put on the shoes. I don't have any earrings that would go well with the dress, so I don't put any on, but quickly walk to the mirror again to look at myself. Now that I'm wearing the shoes, I take a deep breath, blinking a few times the moment I come into view, trying to hold back the tears that are suddenly burning my eyes again. It's not Aurora or Athena staring back at me right now, but me, Nova Kane, the Lady of Nova, making me overcome with emotion. But I quickly shake my head and snap myself out of it. You're not going there again, I whisper before tearing my eyes away from the mirror and glancing at the clock. And 20 minutes have long gone. I head out after one last glance and, as if on cue, Kian knocks, causing me to head to the door. Wow, he says, his eyes widening a bit, giving me a once-over, causing me to blush profusely. You look amazing, he compliments, giving me his arm to take, and I do a thank you. I thank him as we walk down the passage, heading downstairs. We don't see anyone in the living area, and I notice Lydia's car is not in front when exiting the house. She must have gone out again. Kian opens his car door for me and I get in. Chuckling at the small weird curtsy he just did, he runs around the car and slides into the driver's seat and starts the drive. We get lost in conversation the moment the car moves, and I'm glad cause my nerves were starting to get the better of me. And before I know it, Kian is pulling up in front of a beautiful hotel. We head inside and the waiter asks us to follow him, but Kian tells me I'll be continuing on my own from here on and that he'll come and pick us up after the dinner. I nod, swallowing hard, intimidated by meeting Nolan's boss and colleagues, but Carla mutters encouraging words as usual and I start to walk. My palms start sweating as I follow behind the waiter, looking at all the beautiful people sitting at the tables, some laughing, some with serious expressions on, and some looking at each other with so much affection. There you go, miss, the waiter speaks, causing me to stop looking around and look at him to find him gesturing with his hands, and I follow them, mentally preparing myself to be met with strangers' eyes looking at me, but my eyes widen and I gape shocked, find one pair of black eyes, shining with so much love in them. Bittersweet. Nova. Happy birthday, my love, Nolan says, walking up to me before taking my hand and leaving a kiss atop of it while I just stand rooted in my spot, speechless, looking at him and the dinner for two setting. Also surprised he remembered. You remembered? I ask, amazed cause I didn't think he would. I told Nolan when my birthday was on our first night together at the apartment back in Nova. I honestly didn't think he'd remember after everything that's happened, and I wouldn't have blamed him. Of course I did, he says, reaching for my face, gently caressing my left cheek. and causing me to lean more into his touch, enjoying the sensation caused by the sparks. He looks so handsome in a gray blazer with a matching gray shirt * black jeans and black sneakers, while his sandy blonde hair's gelled to perfection. He dyed his hair brown the first time and now we decided he should go blonde. You are so beautiful, he compliments, his eyes filled with so many emotions I can't describe except for one, love, before placing a kiss on my forehead. Thank you, you look amazing, I reply, my voice coming out as a whisper as a traitorous tear escapes my eye. He smiles and gently wipes it off with his thumb before thanking me and placing another gentle kiss on my forehead. He invites me to sit down and places his hand at the small of my back as I step up to the table before pulling my chair for me. I thank him as I sit down and he walks around the table to his seat as well. When did you do all this? I ask as he takes his seat. I didn't do anything, my love, I just booked us a table, he replies, letting out a soft chuckle, causing me to smile at him. The sparkling of his eyes and smile on his face causing a warm feeling to spread in my chest. God, I love him, you know what I mean. Didn't you work today? I did, but only for like 3 hours. And then you left? Yes. Won't you be in trouble? No, I put in extra hours last week so I could take a day's leave and add it to my rest days, he explains to me, and I nod. I knew he was off for the weekend. Just then, the waiter walks up to our table and pours us some champagne. I look around, and this restaurant screams upper class. It's the first thing I noticed when I stepped in, but I wasn't concerned since I thought Nolan's boss was paying, but now that I know he's not, I can't help but worry. We can't really afford things like these right now. What's wrong? Nolan asks, snapping me back to reality, and I realize the waiter's gone. It's nothing, I lie to him, not wanting to ruin the moment. I know he means well. I'll just order the cheapest things on the menu. Talk to me, he says, taking my hand in his, eyes filled with concern. And I realize I have to give him something. Nolan can feel it when something's bothering me through the bond, and sometimes I forget that. I'm just thinking about how happy I am right now and how I wish it could stay like this. You know, I tell him, and he gives my hand a light squeeze with a sad look in his eyes, causing me to mentally kick myself. I'm ruining the moment. He opens his mouth to speak, but I stop him. But I don't want us to talk or think about that right now, I quickly say, wanting to move to a lighter topic, and he nods and tries to smile back at me, but I can see he's still thinking about what I said. He picks up his glass and I do the same, and he makes a toast to my birthday and we raise our glasses to our lips, but I ask him to wait, my voice coming out a little louder than intended, making him freeze, taken aback by my tone before looking at me confused. And to our first date, I add, causing him to smile as we clink our glasses together. To our first date. So how was your day? He asks, placing his glass back on the table, and I follow suit. It was actually great. Now looking back at it, Lydia took me and Becca to the spa and we had facials and did our hair. It felt really good. I feel like a brand new me. I trail off, a thought crossing my mind. Did you tell her it's my birthday today? No, I didn't, he replies, shaking his head. Oh. It must be a coincidence then. I'm happy you had a good time, my love, he says, but my stomach grumbles, cutting him off, and we take that as our cue to look at our menus. Nolan places his menu down, having already decided what he wants to eat, and I do the same. The waiter also walks over to us, seeing that we are ready. What are you having, my love? He asks. And I tell the waiter, only to see his brows furrow together before he picks up the menu and looks at it again. Are you sure that's what you want? They do serve your favorite here, he says, looking at me intently. Of course, they do. I saw that too. But it's expensive. I'm not going to spend that much on a plate of food for one night. Yes, I'm sure I want to try this. Can you please give us a moment? Nolan asks the waiter. And he nods with an, of course, sir, and walks away. Okay, talk to me. About what? I ask, acting clueless, but he doesn't buy it. Nova. Come on. Okay. It's really expensive here. Nolan and I don't want to waste money we don't have dash. Hey, he says, taking my hand in his. You are the most selfless and most considerate person I know, and I love you more for it. My love, but please just forget all that just for tonight. Please let me treat you like my queen just for tonight. But you always treat me like your queen, Nolan. You know what I mean, please? I sigh before my lips stretch into a smile. Okay. I tell him, and he raises my hand and places a kiss atop of it. Thank you. Before nodding at the waiter, causing him to walk over to our table again. We converse while waiting for our food, and after a moment the waiter comes back with our dinner. Nolan ordered pork chops and white wine sauce, and I ended up ordering my favorite, duck with asparagus, raspberry, and potet mouse with Norwegian sauce. We dig into our food, occasionally stealing glances at each other and smiling every time we catch each other. The food is delicious, and I finish everything on my plate. The waiter comes back after a few minutes to collect our plates and also asks if we want the desserts that we ordered with our main brought out now. We tell him yes, and he takes our plates away and returns with them. I'm having all my favorites, so I'm having a chocolate salted caramel dessert with French toast dippers. And Nolan's just having a lemon cheesecake mousse. He doesn't really care for eating, but it wouldn't look right if I was the only one eating. We start discussing the apartments that Lydia and I went to check out during the week while he was at work as we have our desserts. Thank you. I thank him, taking his hand in mine, causing him to stop talking. Thank you for this evening. I had a great time. I'm really happy right now. You don't have to thank me, my love. It's my job to make you happy. Plus the evening's not over yet. It's not. No, he says, shaking his head with a mischievous smile. Duncan. I enter our bedroom and my heart immediately sinks very low, looking at my wife's shaking body, her face buried on the pillows as sobs rack her exhausted body. It's now after 9 p.m. and we just got home. Today's Nova's 19th birthday, and she normally holds part of the celebration at the orphanage. She chooses a different orphanage every year and would visit the ones she didn't choose with gifts the following days. It usually went on for a week, but Rose woke up at dawn and tried to visit all the orphanages in one day. She couldn't, since she wanted to spend time at each one, and I had to beg her to come home. I had meetings I couldn't get out of all day, and now I'm getting home to find her like this. I'm very worried about her. This thing with Nova is tearing her apart. I sometimes wake up to her crying in the middle of the night. She's even haunted by nightmares. It was hard for me today too. Some days I can stand the pain and put on a brave face, but today it was hard. I was on edge the whole day, wondering where she is, what she's doing, or even if she's still alive. If she is, in what condition. About a month ago, we received news from someone who claimed to have seen her. He offered his assistance, and we accepted, but there's been no more news from him either. Rose, I call her, placing my hand on her heaving back, but she doesn't even look at me. So I take off my jacket and climb next to her before pulling her to my chest, tears welling in my own eyes at her painful cries. I'll do anything to get my daughter back. Anything. God, please bring her back to us. Please. Nolan. Silver. I plop on the bed with a sigh. Today was a very busy day, and I just got home now. Although the day was busy, it's not my body that's tired, but my soul. I couldn't recover from my morning breakdown no matter how much I tried, and I even contemplated canceling everything, but I couldn't stay here and face my father. I couldn't look him in the eye today without falling apart. I found myself wishing Cora were here. I've lost count of how many times I called her, needing to stop myself from falling apart by talking to her. My last meeting was with the higher council regarding my crowning, and I'm supposed to go discuss the outcome of the meeting with my father. But I can't, not while haunted by my deed. Maybe tomorrow, when this day has passed, things will go back to normal, and I'll discuss it with him then. I get up, deciding to have a shower and go to bed. My stomach grumbles from not having anything today, but I ignore it. I can't stomach anything right now. I take off my shoes, but a knock on the door causes me to pause before slipping the shoe back on again and heading for it. Wondering who it is, I rip it open with a frown, but my eyes widen seeing my father's pain-stricken ones. A father, I whisper, tears immediately pooling in my eyes as I step aside for him to come in before turning to him again after closing the door to see a lone tear running down his cheek, causing mine to fall as well. We engulf each other in a hug without saying a word. There's no need to. Nova. Nolan. I squeal in surprise before giggling as Nolan picks me up by my waist before spinning us around. I've got you, he says as he slowly lowers me and I wrap my arms around his neck, looking into his enchanting eyes. I know, I softly mutter as he gently places me on my feet. He pecks me on the lips and lets go of me, walking to the small coffee table and picking up a remote. This place is nice, I compliment, looking around the hotel suite as I take off my shoes. And just then soft sounds start and Nolan sets down the remote before taking off his blazer and walking up to me. May I have this dance, milady? He asks, extending his hand with a weird curtsy like Kian, causing me to bite back a smile. Of course, my lord, I reply with a curtsy of my own, a proper one. Before taking his hand and he pulls me closer to him, I place my hand in his and the other around his neck, while his other comes around my waist, and we start swaying to the beautiful sounds while lost in each other's eyes. We are currently back at the hotel. Nolan booked a suite for us for the night. After dinner, he took me to a poetry jazz bar downtown, and I got the shock of my life when his name was called on stage. I had no idea he could sing. I've never heard him sing, and it's unlike him. He got up there and dedicated John Legend So High to me, and boy, can he sing. I spent half the song with my jaw hanging open, speechless, and didn't even see him finish as tears started blurring my vision. The moment the shock wore off, I'll never forget it. Tonight's by far the most beautiful night of my life. If someone told me how happy I was going to be by the end of this day, this morning, I wouldn't have believed them. A witch in the palace. Vance. What are you doing? I ask Cora as I walk back inside my office to find her on her feet, halfway through the room with a look I can't decipher that she quickly tries to hide, even though her heart's beating like it's going to stop. I am sorry, I was trying to look for the bathroom, she says, trying to give me a smile, but I can tell she's lying. It's through the second door on your left. Are you sure you're okay? I ask again after directing her to the bathroom, and she says she is. I nod, and she walks away after that, and just then, our food is brought in, causing me to sit back down, my stomach grumbling suddenly. I just received a call from one of my guys that I've had looking into Cora, and he didn't find anything suspicious. She's from Ymir, like she said, and isn't sent by Tobias or Duncan. Speaking of Duncan, I have to let him know that I'm still doing everything I can to track that vampire fucking slut daughter of his. I woke up to a message from one of my men that I've had looking for them, telling me he might have found their whereabouts, but needs to make sure they are really there. He got some images of that morning from the subway, but they aren't clear, which is why he's making extra sure. So I left Cora alone this morning to meet with Ruadan. He needs to get his hunters ready and on standby. I'm not making the mistake of underestimating that vampire again. I'm coming down on him with everything I've got. The door to the office clicks open, snapping me out of my thoughts, and Cora walks in, giving me a soft smile as I look at her. I'm sorry, I lied earlier. Something is bothering me, but it's not something I can talk about, she says, sitting down across from me, and I nod in understanding. If she doesn't want to talk about it, then she doesn't. I'm not going to force her. Besides, this thing between us has reached its end anyway. I have to get back to my mission now and give it all my attention. I can't afford distractions. I enjoyed my time with her, but now we must go our separate ways, go back to our complicated lives. Hopefully this will cheer you up, I say with a smile, causing her to frown. In question, I have spoken to my friend, and after breakfast, I'll be giving you a tour of the house, if you're still interested, that is. I inform her, and her smile widens before thanking me, but I don't fail to notice it doesn't reach her eyes. We have our breakfast in silence after that and head out when we are done. Thank you, she says, settling inside the car, and I walk around to the driver's side and start the drive after sliding in. Vance, I hear her call me after a long moment of silence, and I look at her as I respond, "Who's Astrid?" She asks, causing my grip to tighten on the steering wheel by reflex, even though I've been kind of expecting the question. "The florist called me after I ordered flowers for her this morning, telling me their delivery guy had made the mistake of putting down Astrid's name on the flowers, but assured me they had apologized and explained they got the names mixed up. He was worried I might be upset, but I wasn't. Maybe I would have been if I was planning on having a relationship with her, but I'm not. She means nothing to me. She was just a good time. Means to release some steam and get my head back in the game, so I wasn't going to make a big deal out of it. Plus, it's my fault for not telling them about Astrid's passing. I just can't bring myself to talk about it. I haven't dealt with it. I can't. Not before I take the life of her killers." She clears her throat, making me realize I haven't responded to her. She was someone I knew. Was she left me. I keep my answers short, hoping she gets the hint and drops it. And she does. We get to the house, and I step out of the car, letting her out. Afterward, the foreman walks up to us, surprising me since I didn't expect to find him here today, but I'm not worried about her finding out that this is my place anymore. Now that I know she's not a spy. The construction guys aren't working today. Since it's Sunday, he tells me he was just here to check on something and head straight to his car after that. We step inside, and I start showing her around. Sudden pain in my chest as we walk through the passages. Memories of Astrid and I playing in my head. Everything in this place reminding me of her. I hear Cora groan, and I look at her to find her clutching her stomach, looking nauseous. "What's wrong?" "I think I might have a stomach bug. Could I use your bathroom?" she says, discomfort in her face. And I quickly nod and take her to the direction of the bathroom, walking away to wait for her in the passage after that. But I start checking on my watch, worried after realizing I have been waiting long. I contemplate going back to check on her, but I don't want to make things awkward. I mean, how long is very long in the bathroom anyway? I take out my phone and go over my emails, replying to everyone I haven't replied to, and make a few phone calls, some quite long. But when I'm done and she's still not out, I'm left with no choice but to check on her. I make my way to the bathroom, but a blood-curdling scream with a blast that feels like it's shredded my body to pieces sends me flying and crashing on the other side of the wall. What the hell? I lie down for a moment, realizing I have broken bones as Clyde tries to heal us. I cough out blood trying to get up, my vision blurry, my hearing gone, and I can feel blood coming out of my ears and trickling down my neck. My vision clears just in time as she walks up to me, her hair floating around her like Astrid's used to when she's channeling magic, but she's fuming. My eyes widen as realization dawns on me. She's a witch. I open my mouth to speak, getting to my feet, but choke as the metal rails from the staircase wrap around my neck, squeezing the life out of me every time she moves her hands, sending me tumbling to my knees. What have I done? What is this? Who is she? I try to grab onto the metal to keep it from sinking into my flesh, but she hits me with what feels like a lightning bolt, knocking me on my back, and it goes dark for a moment. Why? What did she do to you? Why did you kill her? Why did you kill my sister? She screams as I scramble to my knees, feeling rage course through my veins. Having no idea what the fuck she's talking about. She caught me off guard, but now I'm ready. I have no idea why she's attacking me, but she's clearly fighting, so I don't give a fuck anymore. She sends the chandelier crashing, but I dodge it and immediately let Clyde take over. You killed Astrid. She screams again just as I'm about to leap up, and I freeze hearing Astrid's name, causing her to send me flying through the wall again. With one of her blasts I break through the wall and fall miserably on the hard tiles next to my swimming pool. She thinks I killed Astrid? I loved Astrid. I would ever hurt her. I transform back to my human form as she walks up to me like a lion stalking its prey, eyes blazing, her hair still floating around her. She's definitely stronger than Astrid. Clyde tries to resist the transformation, not wanting us to explain but fight, but I have to if she's Astrid's sister. Then I owe her that much. For Astrid. I get to my feet, naked since I had transformed into my wolf a minute ago, but I don't care about that right now. You don't understand, I didn't kill her. I try to tell her, but she screams, asking why she's buried in my garden. I open my mouth to explain, but the words die in my throat as she hits me in the head with all the bricks sitting in my backyard from the construction. I fall, but get up again, deciding, fuck explaining, and Clyde takes over again. I pounce on her and leap up in the air wanting to land on top of her, but she throws me off, sending me crashing to my side, causing a whimper to escape Clyde before it turns into a growl. Fuck this bitch. She doesn't wait for me to get up this time, sending shovels, wheelbarrows, everything my way. I dodge some of them, some hitting me as I try to duck as well as counterattack, but just then a wire wraps around Clyde's neck, choking the life out of us again. Clyde falls on his side, clawing at it as it sinks deeper and deeper into his neck. I'm a formidable fighter, but she's too strong for us. She's killing us. She sends the bricks flying to us again, hitting us in the head while still choking us with the wire. And I feel Clyde start to give in and I realize we are dying. But just then, there's a scream on my right causing her to stop, probably startled by whoever just screamed. But I don't even try to look. I use the opportunity to summon all my strength and run, successfully ducking into the woods behind my house. I don't look back and run until I reach the other side of town, before collapsing to the ground, unable to run anymore. I open my eyes, disoriented for a moment, and just then all the events from earlier come flooding back and I realize I'm still in the spot where I passed out, but in my human form now, and my injuries have healed. I groan, sitting up still feeling the pain even though I can feel all the wounds have closed before getting to my feet. I can't believe I passed out for so long. The bitch almost killed me. It's dark now, and if it weren't for my wolf's eyes, I wouldn't be able to see a thing in this forest. I sometimes run in this forest, but never in this direction. This part is unfamiliar to me. Clyde is glad I'm up. He wants us to go back and fight. He doesn't take defeat very well, but I calm him down. We need a strategy. She doesn't fight fair, and we are no match for her magic. Plus, I'm not sure if I want to kill her. I tell him and hear him flip in my head, she's a witch, Clyde, and not just any witch. A powerful witch, more powerful than even my Astrid. I could use someone like her in my corner. I explain to him and he states the obvious, that it's impossible, that she hates me for killing her sister, but I didn't kill her sister, which means her reason for hating me is not valid. All I have to do is to find a way to get her to listen to me, to let me explain that I didn't do it, to let her know that her anger is misplaced, and tell her exactly who she needs to be angry at. We could go after the vampire together, and she would take care of it for us. Clyde is still not convinced, but I don't care. I don't have time for his bruised ego right now. He's just mad 'cause he got beat. I hear the sound of water, making me suddenly thirsty, and I make my way in the direction of it, and after a short moment, I spot a river. I head for it, desperate for a drink and maybe a splash to wash this dry blood off of me before looking for my way back. After quenching my thirst and cleaning up, I start walking in the direction that should be taking me back to my house. I transform into Clyde and he starts running, after finding a pathway, and after I don't know how long, my place comes into my view and I transform back to my human form, so I can hide behind the trees. As I hear voices in the direction of my garden, I walk up to the trees just a few feet away from them, careful not to make a sound, glad the smell is not wolf, but human. Sneaking up on them would be difficult if they were werewolves, but humans are always oblivious to everything. I count 6 men, digging in my garden with shovels, some shining torches, and just then Cora walks up to them, kneeling to the ground as they take out what looks to be Astrid's body and place it in front of her. I feel something wet running down my cheek as I look on before suddenly feeling drained and going to my knees, muffling the sobs that want to escape. I don't want her to be taken away from me. Not again. She gets up after a moment and the men load the body into the back of the car. They get inside the car after that, while one walks in my direction, shouting he has to pee to the others. The others tell him to hurry up, that it's a long way to Silvera. So they're from Silvera? Why would she get people from Silvera if she's from Yemor? Cora takes out her phone and tells someone I assume is their pilot to get the jet ready 'cause they are on the way, and walks to her car and gets in. After that I step back so the guy doesn't see me, and watch as he relieves himself. He turns around when he's done, but I cannot let him go back. I need to find out what's really going on here. I pounce on him and clamp my hand over his mouth before he can make a sound. Who are you? Where are you from? I ask him, looking at him with my wolf's eyes, causing his to widen as he starts to tremble. If you scream, I will snap your fucking neck. Do you understand? I warn, tightening my grip on his neck just a little, since I don't want him to die yet, and he nods. Now who are you? Who is she? Cora. That's not what the fuck I'm asking. I warn him with a low growl, causing him to whimper. She's the king's secretary, he says, causing my brows to shoot up in surprise, confusion, and shock. Which king? King Silver. Nolan Silver, he stutters, taking an involuntary step back while I stand there shocked. There's a witch living in the palace? Did you know she was a witch? What? He stutters, confused, and I have my answer. I snap his head and drag his body away. I strip him out of his overalls and put them on before walking back to the others. An army of witches. Vance, tell that brother of yours to hurry up. Man, I want to get out of here and go home. I hear one of the guys as I emerge from the woods, approaching the car. Dan, make quick. Man, we want to go, the driver says, watching me in the side mirror, making me realize he's the brother of the guy, and I nod, mumbling, let's go, as I slide into the back seat. Glad the other guy took the front passenger seat. They are using 2 cars, and the other car with the 3 guys has started to move already. They have taken off their masks, but I can't take mine off. If I do, they'll see I'm not Dave or whoever the guy I killed's name is. Are you alright, man? The driver asks, adjusting the rearview mirror so he can look at me, and I decide to lie down on the seat and act like I'm not well. I can't have him start a conversation with me. I have a headache, I mumble, keeping my voice very soft and scratchy before feigning a cough. Getting in this car seemed like a pretty good idea a few minutes ago, but now, not so much. I can already tell it's going to be a challenge. I should have just taken a flight to Silvera in the morning. If these guys discover that I'm an imposter, I'll have to kill them, and that will be a problem. I don't want Cora to discover me. Not now. Not until I make myself known to her. The driver tells me to rest after scolding me, telling me he told me not to come, causing Clyde to let out a low growl in my head. Not liking the guy's tone, even though he knows he's not really scolding me, but who he thinks I am. I tell him to calm down or move to the back of my head. I don't want any distractions right now. I need to focus. This bloody mask stinks, making it impossible for me to breathe, and these overalls reek of sweat too, making my skin crawl. Feeling disgusted, this was definitely a bad idea, but I cannot lose this witch with her by my side. I'd be unstoppable. The world would be mine for the taking, and I'd take it all before bringing my enemies to their knees. We get to the plane, and the driver tells me to climb aboard and get seated. They'll do the rest. He must be the older brother for sure. I nod, clutching onto my head, trying to look the part before boarding the jet, my heart rate accelerating as I prepare myself to face Cora, but breathe a sigh of relief when I don't see her. She must be inside the cabin, sleeping or something. They load the body and settle in their seats, and soon the plane takes off. When we get to Silvera, we will drop you off first, and you must go see Dr. Neville. I told you not to stop taking your meds, he says, and I just nod, before taking my face in my hands, leaning my elbows on my knees. A weird warmth spreading in my chest, even though I know he's not my brother and is not talking to me, but the guy he thinks is his brother. Even still, I can't help but be touched by the love and the type of relationship they obviously had, making me also feel guilty for killing him. He'll be devastated when he realizes I've never had a brother. I only had my mother, and she died when I was 10, and ever since, I've had to fend for myself. I never had anyone to care for me. Astrid was the person to genuinely care for me. In a very long time, all the others before her were always interested in what I had to offer. They weren't real. Which is why I can't help but be touched by the amount of care he's demonstrating towards his brother. 4 grueling hours later, we arrive in Silvera, and my heart rate shoots sky high as Cora walks up to us. Before settling in her seat as we get ready to land, I pretend not to look at her. But I can see her from the corner of my eye, watching me with a raised brow. Probably because I'm the only one still wearing a mask before Alan, the guy whose brother I'm pretending to be, informs her that I'm not well. She nods, tearing her eyes away from me, and just then we feel the plane's wheels touching the ground as it tries to land. A few minutes later, it comes to a stop and we descend soon after, Alan again telling me to go straight to one of the black SUVs waiting for us on the runway. I head to it and get in the back seat. They load the body into the other one and Alan slides into the driver's seat before pulling out the second SUV, following behind us with the guys, while Cora rides alone in a BMW convertible. The cars all drive in the same direction for a while before Alan makes a detour, probably taking me home like he said he was going to. And after a while, we reach a suburb. He stops in front of a block of flats and tells me he's going to call me. And I figure it's my stop. I get off and luckily he doesn't wait for me and drives off, making me sigh. Relieved since I don't know where I must go. I turn back and watch the car speeding off before following behind it. Luckily, it's a straight road, so it doesn't disappear from view. It's just after 3 a.m., therefore still dark, so I use my wolf speed since the town's still asleep. Being a werewolf makes me faster than a human, even in my human form, but to think I could chase after a speeding car for miles was a bit too ambitious. So I transform and let Clyde continue with the chasing as I start to feel myself getting tired, causing the car to get further away from me. Clyde chases after it and keeps a nice distance between the car and us, and we also make sure to stick to the shadows. A big black wolf spotted at 3 in the morning would cause widespread panic, and I don't need that. After I don't how long, I see the car going inside a big gate in what looks to be a graveyard. Before coming to a stop, I notice that the other car and Cora are already there. I transform back into my human form before jumping over the gate, but quickly duck behind the tree. Seeing another 2 cars coming, I lie on my stomach, scratching it as the grass causes me to itch. 8 women who look to be around the same age as Cora step out of the cars, all wearing long white gowns. What the fuck? Could they all be witches? Could there be so many witches living among us? Is that why the silvers strike fear in the hearts of wolves? Is it because they are not just leaking, but using witchcraft as well? I realize the hole's already been dug. The guys get back inside the cars and drive away, causing me to lay my face flat on the ground. As they drive past me, I lift my head and get up, sneaking closer to the women. The moment the cars get to a safe distance, the women all have herb-like things in their hands and what looks to be trinkets. Each one of them steps up to the grave and mutters something, but the language is foreign to me. Before kneeling and throwing the trinkets and herbs in, Cora also does the same, and when they're done, they all stand in a straight line before taking each other's hands. They all look up to the sky, and after a moment, the already dark sky gets even darker, and the air moistens like it's going to rain any second now. They all start chanting in an unknown language, and a bolt of lightning strikes over their heads. As they do, their chanting gets louder, and a gust of wind swirls around them, causing the gowns and hair to float. But they continue chanting, unbothered by what's happening around them. The hair at the back of my neck stands, sitting on my knees behind the tree watching them, and find myself looking around feeling like something's watching me. After what feels like forever, black smoke emerges from the hole and absorbs into them, causing them to fall on their knees, and the little storm around them clears the moment their knees hit the ground. I've never seen anything like this in my life, and I find my chest swelling at the thought of an army of witches at my side. What I have just witnessed here has given me more ammunition to use against Cora. Should my first plan of reasoning with her fail, I don't want to have to resort to blackmail, as that might make us enemies. Cora is powerful, and I'd rather be in her good books, but I might have to force her if she doesn't give me a chance to explain myself. no matter how much I hate it. They all hug each other before waving their hands over the hole, putting the soil back, and closing it. They disperse to their cars after that and drive out the gate. I watch them drive away, wanting to make sure they are far before I make my way out. They'd kill me for sure if they saw me, and I have a feeling it would be very painful and slow since they still think I killed their sister. I can't believe Astrid lied to me, but then again, can I really blame her? She was probably sworn to secrecy or something. This would be a scandal if people ever found out. I look back at the grave before making my way out of the gate, and I notice how you can't even tell the soil was just dug up and it's a grave. It's now a bed of assorted flowers that I didn't even see growing, causing my jaw to hang open. The sun's coming up now, so I transform into Clyde and bolt into the nearby forest. I need clothes. I emerge on the other side of the forest and spot a guy jogging with his headphones on. Perfect. I softly mutter in my head before making a whining sound and emerging in front of him, limping like I'm hurt after catching a whiff of his scent. He's human, therefore an easy target. He stops running, taking off his headphones, and I whine even louder before lying on my side, keeping my ears down, so he knows I do not pose a threat. Even though I do, he reluctantly walks up to me, but stops again, still a few feet away, causing me to mentally roll my eyes. Annoyed, I don't have time for this. I'm trying to look as unintimidating as possible, but I'm a werewolf, therefore larger than a normal wolf. And being a royal wolf makes me larger than normal werewolves too. So this is not easy, but I don't need him to come too close. Just a few more feet and then I'll partially transform and snap his neck. I could go for his throat at this distance and reap it out, but he'll bleed and dirty the clothes, and I don't want that, which is why I need to make sure I get him the first time. I don't want to have to chase him since there are also cars passing by. I lay my head on the ground and watch from the corner of my eye as he swallows hard before taking a few more steps closer. Fucking humans and their soft hearts. He's scared shitless, but still feels the need to attend to me. I almost feel bad for what I'm about to do to him. He takes another step before looking into the forest, probably making sure there aren't any more wolves, and I jump up, startling him so much that his voice doesn't even come out as I knock him on his back, transforming the upper part of my body and snapping his neck in the process. I drag him into the forest and strip him out of his clothes. His shorts are a little too short considering I'm taller than him, but they'll do for now. I notice car keys lying next to him and take them, as well as his phone. I awaken the phone screen, checking if it needs a password, and it does, but luckily his thumb works, so I quickly use it to take off the password. Satisfied, I start to walk away but stop, looking at him one last time, and I can't leave him like this. I go back and at least close his eyes as they stand wide open, life gone from them like they weren't full of it just a few minutes ago. His expression still mortified. Even dead. I'm sorry, I whisper before walking up to the road and starting to jog in the direction he was going in, hoping that's where his car is. After a short distance of painfully jogging like a human, I finally sport a white Mercedes and press the keys to test it, and the doors open. I head to it and slide inside before taking off, heading to the hotel I always stay in when I'm here. I dump the car a few blocks away from it and proceed on foot. I didn't make a booking, but because I always stay here when I'm this side, the manager finds me a suite and I thank him and head to it. I need a long, cold shower. I break the phone since I'm not going to need it after all. I don't want it to be tracked to me once he's discovered missing or dead. After my long shower, I log onto the hotel's computer and order myself everything that I need and also pay for the suite, not forgetting to include a big tip for the staff. I need to find a way to get to the palace and talk to Cora. After getting dressed, I walk downstairs to the restaurant side, needing some food, but overhear the manager talking to a guy who looks like a reporter about a news conference at the palace. I walk up to them and insert myself into their conversation. The guy tells me the king will be making a big announcement, but they don't know what it is. This is a perfect opportunity for me to get in there. I ask him how one would get in, and he tells me all the invited media houses were given pass cards, showing me his before sliding it back into his pocket. I look at him quietly for a moment as he continues talking, contemplating if I should just kill him and take his pass card and go in his place, or if he would let me tag along. If I spit him some sob story, I'm done killing for the day. He walks out when he's done, and I also walk out after him, not making it obvious that I'm following him, but sprint behind him the moment we get outside. I see him wave down a cab, but stop him, offering him a lift. As the valet brings my car around, he immediately agrees, thanking me, and we get inside my car.